so 2 more things I want to go over today are git ignore and README files. So it allows you to create a file called .gitignore. And I'm just going to make a new file. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to call it .gitignore. It has to be exactly this gitignore, this spelling of it. Yes, I do want to do a dot before. I totally know what I'm doing. So any file names that you add to the Git will ignore them. So a lot of times if I'm learning a new technology, sometimes I like to just have a bunch of notes for myself, like how to start a server, how to stop a server, because I can't remember. I can say, I'll have a file called my _ notes, which is the thing I do. And then I can type whatever I want. This is so hard, I don't know what I'm doing. If the other developers knew, they'd totally ridicule me. All right, so whatever. Start server by typing blah, 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 start. So I can have whatever notes I want. If I say the name of this file before I commit it, you have to do it before you commit it, then it won't show up in git ignore. And I wouldn't do what I did here. Don't ever, just because, especially if you're just learning Git, you could accidentally commit something that you don't want in the repository, and then it'll be there forever because it keeps history of everything, right? But if I say my _notes.txt, if I add that file name here, it won't add it. Really useful for you guys if you want to have your source files in your code is. Let's see, I'm going to add a folder called PSDs. I can keep all my source in here. You definitely don't want to upload that. You can just add /PSDs. I think you have to say, PSDs. This, I think, is just going to do the whole directory. Or there's also /star. It's anything inside the directory. I think we'll just do it. We'll do a test. So I'm going to add. So see how this folder is grayed out now in Sublime. Sublime is really smart, and it shows you these aren't in. I'm just going to add a new file in here just so I can try this out. Row.txt. Yeah, so it's basically anything that's in git ignore. It's ignoring. Okay. And then another file that happens on Macs, and it's the .ds_store. It's a Finder. It's like a Mac Finder thing. It saves preferences for your Finder info. So I think if you change options, it'll definitely create this file. It's just sort of a pain. So you can add that here, and it won't show up in GitHub, which is nice. So now when we go to GitHub desktop, now the only thing it recognizes that I changed is git ignore. Even though I added that my notes file, I created a folder, I created a file in the folder, it doesn't even recognize it in GitHub desktop at all. So if I add this, which create git ignore sounds like a great commit message, I'll click it, I'll put it up to the server. Okay, and then if I go up there, I go to the main branch. So I'm in code. I'm in, what branch am I in right now? Well, I must be in master. Yeah, branch. You can kind of switch around branches here. So yeah, I'm in branch master and then I git ignore. So people can see what, but they can't the files themselves. This is also a great place to put, a lot of times you'll have like authorization keys or something that you don't want in GitHub. So this is a place to add those as well. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you is READMEs. So READMEs are awesome for a lot of different reasons. They tell people, like if you have a project in GitHub, you can kind of use GitHub as a bit of a portfolio piece. Like if people are looking at your code, you can kind of have information about your projects right in your project code, which is really nice. The file name has to be recognized by GitHub, all uppercase, README, and then dot, and then lowercase md. This is sort of like the equivalent of an index.html file for Markdown. Okay, so I'm going to save this. And then Markdown code is, I wish I could tell you the difference between markup and Markdown. I don't really know. I don't know. But there is a really great Adam P. has this amazing Markdown cheat sheet that's sort of become the industry standard for Markdown. And it's really great. So here's like, we'll just start from a header. And like this cheat sheet, I'm pretty good at like links and bullet items, but I always have to look up images. But like, I just look up the cheat sheet and I pick what I need. So here's like, this is super slow scrolling. So here's what the headers look like, right? So I can add GitHub desktop demo. And then here's some info about this great project. I can add the link to the, so like here's the, this will be the link to the actual video demo, right? Blah, blah, blah. So a link tag is a square bracket followed by parentheses. The parentheses is the link and the square bracket is the text. So I can say my YouTube demo, whatever you want the like text to be. So this is the equivalent of HTTP blah 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 blah. My YouTube demo. Right, and then so it's just like slightly different code, and you can't see what you're doing, which is really frustrating. But there's a great tool called Dillinger.io, and it lets you preview Markdown. You can kind of see if you want to get really fancy. You can people add screenshots, all kinds of cool, exciting things. Come on, Dillinger. And you basically just paste one side and it shows you what it'll look like. Here's one that I did. It's kind of fast. Just use Dillinger to type up. Be paste it. So I'll just copy paste this one because it's more exciting. Okay, so here's kind of like general what it'll look like. I'm going to save it. This is what an image looks like. It's like pound or exclamation point, square bracket, and then the C. So it's the same as the link, only with an exclamation.
Hey, Alana.
Yeah.
Hey, I guess something's getting lost on me. So what is the point? Because I guess the only reason why is because I could in the past we didn't use these. They didn't seem as necessary. So can you just like maybe one more time, like why have these in there?
Yeah.
It seems like it's HTML, like basically what your HTML is.
Well, it's sort of like an information file. So I'm going to post it up so we can kind of look at what it's like. So push origin. GitHub recognizes this. as a file that it's going to show down here below your, so here's the README. So when I go to this repository, and it could be any project, right? It could be some tool that you want to use, or yeah, like a template that you're going to use, a code library. And this README can be a link to the demo page. It can be information on how to install it. It can be documentation on how to use it. Kind of anything you want.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I know your homework one used that to display like, hey, make sure you include a color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like kind of anything you want. But the cool thing is that it displays like in your repository. And if you use this code, like if I'm trying to think of a library that I could look at real quick. Everything's loading so slow. But like, let's say I get a library, it's going to like, when I download it, that file is going to be there locally too. So I can kind of use it to help me. It's like basically local documentation, right? People also use it for like, hey, I changed it and this is what I changed in this version. So people can kind of be like, oh, okay, yeah, I have a bug, that will fix it, or something like that. Yeah, so that's the README. And yeah, like I said, for portfolios, it's really great. So let's say you have a portfolio project, you can have screenshots of what that project looks like in here. So people can kind of get like a sneak peek, and there'll be a link to like the live version. So it can be really, really helpful. And you can even have like other MD files that the README link to. Like you could have like a whole set of like README files if you want. And the readme.md kind of serves as like the index page version of READMEs. Yeah. Okay, I'm stopping